Thank you. I'm Sam Glassenberg, and I was asked to speak about the convergence of two topics that are very dear to my heart: movies and video games. So I'm a lucky guy who's spent his career at the intersection of these two, but never so much as right now at Funtactix, a company that was started in Israel, and our business is releasing social games around major Hollywood films like Mission Impossible and The Hunger Games. Now, movies and video games are two different windows into the same fictional universe. Now, that universe can be a galaxy far, far away, or a post-apocalyptic North America. That universe truly only exists in the mind of its creator. And movies are a window into this universe. A huge budget poured into 90 minutes of tightly controlled presentation. Now, a movie feels real. A movie feels authentic. And as one of millions of fans, it makes me not only want to enter that universe, but truly become a part of it. And this is what we call the fan fantasy. For example, Mission Impossible. I want to be my own secret agent, living a life of intrigue and adventure. Cutting-edge gadgets, fancy cars, assembling a team of my best friends to go on dangerous missions around the world. And at Funtactix, we fulfill the fan fantasy. We let fans enter the universe of the film on Facebook. And not in some sort of cheesy virtual tour sort of way. We let you be your own secret agent with the gadgets and the cars and commanding your friends on top secret missions. This is the fan fantasy realized. And this is also the power of interactive media. This is why video games in general are so engaging. Users can play games for hours, days, weeks, months, way more than a movie. And what games have lacked in the past is authenticity. Movies always felt like the real thing. Games felt fake, like a compromise. Authenticity. Authenticity is elusive, but if you can somehow achieve authenticity in a video game, that's when the real success happens. And I saw this for the first time about a decade ago. I was working for Lucasfilm, and this is when the new Star Wars movies were coming out. My team was building the video games. And for the first time ever, we actually took assets from a movie in production. We simplified them, and we put them into a video game. And this brought a new level of authenticity to video games. You were actually flying the same Jedi starfighter that you saw in the movie. And I believe this was LucasArts' most successful title that year. But keep in mind, the graphics available at the time were pretty terrible. They couldn't compare, they weren't even close to a movie. And it took a very hardcore gamer with a very active imagination to see something like that as authentic. So I looked at this and I said, wow, if we could improve the capabilities of the system and we could make the graphics look as good as the movie, well, then it would be authentic to everyone. It's the graphics quality that's holding the market back. And so that's what I thought, but as it turned out, I was completely wrong. I left LucasArts and I joined the leading graphics group on the planet, Microsoft DirectX. Every game and every graphics chip and every device in the world, from the Xbox to your iPhone, uses technology that's pioneered by DirectX. And what we were trying to do was to recreate film quality in interactive games, in games that you could interact with in an engaging way. Now, with Moore's law, compute power doubles every year. So in 2001, it would take 30 minutes to render one movie frame. But by 2006, with the right tools and chips and software and algorithms, we'll be able to do that in an interactive game at 30 frames per second. And around 2007, we actually got there. Cinema quality in interactive games. And what happened? The movie-based market completely collapsed. And the market for hardcore games stopped growing. Better graphics didn't deliver authenticity. It just made it more expensive to make a good game. It didn't actually expand the market at all. In the meantime, social and mobile games with relatively simple graphics created a new audience of 500 million gamers that had never played games before. And this is where the growth is in the games business these days, on platforms like iPhone and Facebook. And this is why I left Microsoft to join Funtactix. Because while social was disrupting the video games industry, it's turning the movie industry completely on its head. Social completely changes the way that movies engage fans. Two contrasting examples just from earlier this year. Disney, major motion picture studio, spent hundreds of millions of dollars to market a blockbuster film the old way. TV ads, and it didn't take. Couldn't engage the audience. And then 2 weeks later, The Hunger Games. Lionsgate, a smaller studio, riding one of the most innovative social marketing campaigns in history, created the biggest opening weekend ever for a new film. Hardly any investment in TV ads. And so when they see this, the knee-jerk reaction of many Hollywood studios is to start shifting their budget from television to social. So I'll take my trailer, and instead of spending my money on television spots, I'll spend it on Facebook ads for the trailer. But this doesn't work either. If you're lucky, a trailer will engage a user for 30 seconds or so. Our Hollywood partners take those clicks and they send them to a Funtactix game instead. The game is free to play on Facebook and available to hundreds of millions of users. And within 3 days of signing up, our users have spent more time playing the Hunger Games adventures than they spent in the theater watching the movie. This is millions of users. And they continue playing for months. And they invite their friends. And what you create is a passionate, excited fan base. A player who spends money through microtransactions to get ahead in the game and to show off to their friends how much of a passionate fan they are of the franchise, often spending more than they would on a traditional console game. And at Funtactix, we continue to replicate this success on top Hollywood films. We created this business of movie-based social games, and we remain the only studio with a track record in the space. And for Funtactix, the key to this success is authenticity. This is how you fulfill the fan's fantasy. Now, how do we do that? Yes, we do use film assets to make our games more authentic. We're the only ones who've done this in social games, and we do spend a lot of time on perfecting the art style, but this is just the beginning. The most important thing, well, the more important thing is close collaboration with the creators of the property, the geniuses behind the universe. If the game's story, if the dialogue, if it's an afterthought, if it doesn't come from the same source as the movie, the fans detect it in a second and they'll click away. And this is why we always work closely with the creators of the property itself. Because for them, this is the best opportunity to explore characters, stories, places that couldn't fit into the movie or into the pages of the book. And this is their opportunity to literally use Facebook as a storytelling tool, to experiment. This is their direct channel to the fans themselves. And this is the most important factor in the success of a movie-based game. Ongoing, meaningful dialogue with the fans. Now, when we launch a game, we launch with a tiny fraction of the content that we expect to have a year later. And as an online game, we can track every step of the user's experience. We can see what they like and what they don't like, what characters, what story elements, what locations. And if the answer isn't clear from the numbers that we measure, we can just ask them directly. And this is what drives what we build next. What features, what characters, what locations are going to show up in the game next week. It's kind of like having a TV show where you can ask the audience what they liked and what they didn't, and you let that decide the direction of the next episode. And when the audience feels this power, when they feel the impact that they're having, you can create the most passionate fan base that you've ever seen, in the millions. But not only do we take this data and feed it back into the game, we're starting to feed this information back to the filmmakers themselves, to the creators, to actually impact the direction of future movies. So at the beginning of this talk, I said that the universe, these universes upon which movies and video games are based, exist only in the mind of its creator. And that's actually only half true. It also exists in the minds of the fans as well. And enabling the fans to contribute in a meaningful and constructive way to the universe of a film, I believe that that's the future of film-game convergence and the future of entertainment as well. Thank you.